Good morning. Let's start the daily discussion. The first topic is history on topic on modern Indian history in GS paper 1. So 131st year of Gandhi's first Satyagraha. Okay. On 7th June 1893, 131 years ago, Mahatma Gandhi's first Satyagraha began when he was thrown off a first class train in South Africa for being non-white. Traveling in a first class AC compartment, where he was thrown outside on racial discrimination ground. So, racial discrimination, what is it? Okay. So, racial discrimination in Peter Mattersburg in South Africa, Mahatma Gandhi was forcibly removed from a first-class train compartment due to racial discrimination. Despite having a ticket, a European passenger demanded his removal, stating that non-whites were not allowed in first class. But then that led a big insult to Gandhi, and his agitation against the racial discrimination started there. Okay, so Bharata Satyagraha, this incident was a crucial turning point for Gandhi, igniting his struggle against racial oppression and developing his Satyagraha philosophy. First Satyagraha, okay. So for Satyagraha campaign in 1906, Gandhi launched his inaugural Satyagraha non-violent resistance campaign in Johannesburg in South Africa against ordinance restricting Asians. Organizing civil disobedience, he organized mass meeting and promoted. So, against the ordinance restricting Asians, he organized mass meeting and promoted a civil disobedience to oppose discriminatory law in South Africa by the white government. Imprisonment and that Volker Satyagraha, Gandhi was imprisoned multiple times for his non-violent protest, including the notable Volker Satyagraha in 1913. Okay, so imprisoning that inspiration in 1893, Gandhi arrived in South Africa to manage a legal case, but soon found inspiration to champion the rights of the Indians in South Africa because Indians there, due to racial discrimination ground, were much discriminated. Okay, so founding the National Indian Congress in 1894. He organized the Indian community in Durban and established the Natal Indian Congress to campaign for Indian voting rights. Legal advocacy against discrimination. Through his law practice, Gandhi confronted discrimination. Okay, so legal advocacy against non-discrimination. Through his law practice, Gandhi confronted discrimination and racism, representing Indian and addressing their grievances. Establishing the Transvaal British Indian Association in 1903, Gandhi mobilized support for the welfare of Indians and founded the Transvaal British Indian Association in Johannesburg, South Africa. Engaging in interfaith debate, he debated Christians who challenged his orthodoxy, which led him to develop a more inclusive spirituality. Gandhi's impact in South Africa, mobilizing the Indian community. Gandhi's activism and leadership galvanized the Indian community to resist discriminatory law and regulations. Influence of non-violent resistance and civil disobedience methods significantly influenced the South African Native National Congress, established in 1912, shaping the independence movement. Gandhi's political ideas and mobilization efforts contributed to the of formation and direction of South African independence movement. Okay, so India's relief act achievement through this activism and negotiation, Gandhi persuaded the South African government to enact the Indian Relief Act in 1914. Abolishing discriminatory law, this act eliminated several discriminatory law and acknowledged the rights of Indians in South Africa. Legacy of non-violent resistance, Gandhi's effort established a foundation for future reforms and set a precedent for non-violent resistance in the fight against oppression. Okay, the next diversification in parliament potentially strengthen democracy and federalism. The article discusses how in 2024 general election in India, okay, led to more regional parties in parliament, potentially strengthening democracy and federalism. It highlights ongoing conflicts between the central government and states over resource allocation and suggests way to improve cooperation and fairness. What does the 24 general election results mean for India? In 2024 general election, the 70th Lok Sabha, more regional parties gain seats in parliament. This diversification in parliament means that both the ruling coalition and the opposition will include a mix of regional parties, potentially leading to more representative governance. The success of regional parties suggests an elaborate electorate seeking to address local concern more directly, challenging the dominance of the central party. Because the previous government was a BJP dominated government, because business has that BJP has a substantial majority, but this government elected after the. Okay, so the article discuss how 2024 general election in India led to more regional party in parliament, potentially strengthening democracy and federalism. It highlights ongoing conflict between the central and the state government and states over the resources allocation and suggests way to improve cooperation and fairness. The 24 general election, general election, more regional party gain seat in the parliament. This diversification in parliament means that both the ruling coalition and the opposition will include a mix of regional parties, potentially leading to more representative governance. The success of regional parties suggests an electoral seeking to address local concern more directly, challenging the dominance of central parties. The election outcomes reflect a response to central policies perceived as undermining state autonomy, as seen in the tension over resource allocation and political statement during the campaign. Because so it was a double engine government, or the state regional party promoting to promote the interest of the people of the state, which was more in discussion. Resource allocation complaint, state governed by the opposition have accused the central government of unfair Okay, so resource allocation complaint was a major issue, and specific examples include Kerala's complaint about inadequate transfer of resources, Karnataka's concern about drought relief, and West Bengal's issue with funds for the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. Legal dispute: the Supreme Court of India has highlighted that a steady stream of states are compelled to approach it against the center, pointing to a rise in legal disputes between the states and the central government. Then bias in Finance Commission, the state argued that the Finance Commission, which are tasked with allocating funds between the center and the state, often favor the center. This is seen as a source of conflict, with states feeling the need to inflate their financial requirements to ensure they receive adequate funds. What are the implications of poorer and richer states? Resource distribution: richer states generate more revenue, but receive a smaller share relative to their contribution. For instance, Mumbai as a financial hub contributes significantly to national tax, but does not proportionately benefit from these contributions in local investment or services. Development disparities: poorer states rely on greater resources allocation to accelerate development and reduce inequality. The Finance Commission aims to distribute funds more fairly, yet historical disparity persists. Market dynamics: richer states benefit from market in poorer states, fostering their own growth. For example, poorer states provide a larger consumer base that richer states rely on to expand their economic activities. How could federalism be improved? Increase resource devolution, boosting the percentage of resource devolved from the center to the states beyond the current 41% could empower states, allowing for a more tailored local governance. Fair Finance Commission practice. So, the 16th Finance Commission should aim for equitable treatment of all the states. This could reduce friction and improve resource distribution, particularly favoring poorer states to address inequality. Enhance state autonomy, reducing the central government's dominance in programs like the public distribution system and MGNREGS would affirm the constitutional roles of the states as equal partners in governance. This will prevent the central government from overshadowing state efforts. The global plastic next topic is on ecology and environment, so plastic pollution. So the article discusses the need for a global treaty on plastic pollution to support informal waste workers. These workers often overlooked play a crucial role in recycling. It highlights the importance of integrating and protecting their contribution in a new legal frameworks. What is the global plastic problem? Massive increase in plastic waste. Global production of plastic waste has reached 353 million tons in 2019, more than double since 2000, and is expected to triple by 2060. Low cycling rates: only 9% of the plastic waste produced globally is recycled. The majority is either incinerated, dumped in landfills, or disposed of at uncontrolled sites. This is what only 19% is properly that means recycled. Rest are dumped in landfills, and uncontrolled sites is 22%. Contribution of informal sector: informal recycling workers, who make up the significant part of the recycling workforce, manage to recycle 85% of this small percentage. They play a key role in reducing the plastic in landfills and preventing environmental leakage. These workers are vulnerable to job losses due to privatization of new public policy like waste to energy projects. They are often not included in the formal waste management discussion and policies. Environmental impact: about 60 million tons of plastics. 60 million tons of plastics. Okay, so plastic from municipal solid waste end up polluting the environment, including water bodies, largely due to inadequate waste management services. Without the effort of the informal sector, this figure could be even higher. Okay, so environmental impact, about 60 million tons of plastic from municipal solid waste end up polluting the environment, including water bodies, largely due to inadequate waste management service. Without the effort of the informal sector, this figure could be even higher. But in the Global Plastic Treaty is a crucial international initiative aimed at reducing and eventually eliminating plastic pollution globally. It was kick-started in 2021 when an intergovernmental negotiating committee was established during the 5th UN Environment Assembly in Nairobi in Kenya. Since its inception, the treaty has progressed through several meetings held across the world in places like Dakar, Senegal, Uruguay, Paris, France, Nairobi, Kenya, and Canada, with the final meeting scheduled to take place in South Korea. A key aspect of this discussion has been the active participation of the International Alliance of Waste Pickers, who advocate for the inclusion and consideration of informal waste pickers in the treaty to ensure sustainable waste management and public policy, because they are the persons who actually do the major waste handling, and if they are not taken into consideration, it will be too an injustice for them, because they are the person for whom most of these plastic waste are recycled or are collected and properly they are processed. What is India's role? Important balance approach. India advocates for managing plastics through repair, reuse, refill, and recycling methods without completely eliminating plastic use. Local adaptation. The country emphasized the importance of adapting the treaty to suit country-specific conditions and capacities, ensuring that the global policy are practical and effective locally. Support for informal sector. India highlights the critical role of informal waste pickers in the recycling process. This inclusion in treaty discussion is vital to ensure that these workers are not marginalized by new international regulations. Okay, so support for infra sector, India highlights the critical role of the informal waste pickers in the recycling process. Their inclusion in treaty discussion is vital to ensure that these workers are not marginalized by the new international regulation, because in India, these informal workers are a major share, and they are a major contributor in this recycling process. So then repo rate kept unchanged in the recently published RBI monetary policy. The article discussed reasons behind the Reserve Bank of India's decision to keep the benchmark repo rate unchanged for the eighth consecutive time during its latest bi-monthly monetary policy review. Definition: the repo rate is the interest rate at which the RBI lends money to the commercial bank. So, impact: a lower repo rate incentivizes economic activity by making it cheaper for banks. Okay, so the repo rate is the interest rate which the RBI lends money to the commercial bank. A lower repo rate incentivizes economic activity by making it cheaper for banks to borrow from the RBI and lend to the customers. If the repo rate is cheaper, then the banks will borrow more, and the interest rate on the credit will be less. So, okay, So more and more customers will borrow from the bank. A higher repo rate disincentivizes economic activity by making it costlier for everyone in the economy to borrow money. Movement in the repo rate have a significant impact on the EMI, equated monthly installments paid for the car, home, or the business loans. Because if the repo rate is increased, then the EMI rate will be increasing. But in case the repo rate is decreased, the EMI rates will be less. Okay, a higher repo rate disincentivizes economic activity by making it costlier for the everyone in the country to borrow money. Movement in the repo rate have a significant impact on the EMI, on car loan, housing loan, or business loans. What is the global RBM or the goal of RBM monetary policy? Price stability. The primary goal of RBI monetary policy is to maintain price stability. Okay. Okay, so when the country needs a lift, such as after the COVID pandemic, the RBI lowered the repo rate. This makes borrowing money easier for both consumers and producers, encouraging spending. Spending means fast in the economic activity. Conversely, when the inflation rises significantly above 4%, like during the Russia-Ukraine conflict, RBI raises the repo rate to lessen the demand for borrowing money, thus reducing excessive spending fueled by the credit. Then what is the reason for not cutting the interest rate? Despite a retail inflation rate coming close to 4% target and staying within the RBI's comfort zone of 2 to 6% since September 2020, the RBI has not changed the repo rate since February 23. The reason for this are sticky inflation. While the inflation rate has dropped, it has not reached 4% since January 2021, and the decline has been slow. The RBI is concerned about the persistent inflation, which stayed at 5% in the first 4 months of 2024. Commitment on durable. Okay, so commitment to durable inflation. The RBI wants to keep inflation around 4% consistently and does not reduce rate immediately. When inflation falls below its target for just 1 month, the RBI believes that any future drop in inflation below 4% will only be temporary. Strong economic growth. India's GDP growth rate has been unexpectedly strong recently, leading the RBI to raise its forecast for the current financial year from 7% to 7.2%. With this strong economic growth, it's unlikely that the repo rate is hindering India's economic activity. Fiscal deficit concern. The RBI's choice might be affected by the upcoming union budget and how much the government plans to borrow from the market. This borrowing could impact inflation or interest rates. Factors influencing RBI's monetary policy stand. The article discussed the monetary policy stance of the RBI and the factors influencing the decision making, particularly in relation to inflation targeting and economic growth. How does the global rate hike cycle affect central bank moves? The global rate hike cycle has reached its highest point. Central bank actions are likely to be out of synchronous, unlike the coordinated rate cuts seen during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Monetary Policy Committee, the final decision taker, which is a six-member body, three from the RBI. Okay, the article discusses the monetary policy stance of the RBI and the factor influencing the decision making, particularly in the relation to inflation targeting and economic growth. How does the global rate hike cycle affect central bank moves? The global rate hike cycle has reached its highest point. Central bank actions are likely to be out of synchronous, unlike the coordinated rate cuts. The monetary policy decisions are not influenced largely by the monetary policy action of systematically important central bank like the Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, etc. Federal Reserve is the Central Bank of USA, and European Central Bank is the Bank of the European Union. So, what are the factors influencing RBI's monetary policy stance? Inflation dynamics. Consumer inflation in India is mainly caused by the ongoing supply shock in agriculture, which has led to high food inflation. Core inflation, which excludes volatile food and energy prices, was at low of 2.3% in April, remaining stable for several years. Lesson from the post-pandemic world: a key lesson for the central bank is to pay attention supply shock, especially during periods of strong economic growth. When growth is robust, the MPC tend to prioritize controlling inflation when it is due to a supply shock. Food inflation and inflationary expectations. Food prices, especially for vegetables, have stayed consistently high with a 27.8% increase in April. Since food carries a significant weightage of the 39% in the consumer price index, continued high price can raise expectation of inflation and cause a widespread increase in prices. Bad weather and pests have made vegetable price more volatile and increased their level. Then commodity price, lower commodity price have reduced cost for business, thus keeping core inflation low. However, increased uncertainties in the okay. However, increased uncertainty in the Middle East have pushed up prices of essential commodities like oil and gold. In this if this continue along with a low base effect, it could raise core inflation significantly this fiscal year. Then RBI has to intervene. Economic growth: the National Statistical Office raised the fiscal 2024 growth estimate from 7.6% to 8.2%. Recent data like the record GST. Okay, there is a need to strike a balance between promoting growth and managing inflationary pressures, particularly those arising from supply side shocks in the agricultural sector. So then the Senkaku Island on 7 June 2024, Japan penetrated Beijing after four armed Chinese Coast Guard vessels entered the waters of the Senkaku Island, which Tokyo considered its territory. So the Senkaku Island dispute or the Diao Island dispute, as it is known, is a territorial dispute over a group of uninhabited islands known as the Senkaku Island in Japan, the Diao Island in China, the Tuthai Island in Taiwan. Both Japan and China claims ownership of this island. Location of Senkaku Island. The Senkaku Island are located in the East China Sea between Japan, China and Taiwan. The island are close to the strategically important shipping lanes, offer rich fishing grounds, and are thought to be contain oil deposits. Japan claimed on the Senkaku Island in January 1895 after carefully ascertaining that there has been no trace of control over Senkaku Island by another state before that period. The government of Japan incorporated the island into the Japanese territory by lawfully means under the international legal framework that existed at that time. After World War II, the San Francisco Peace Treaty placed the Senkaku Island under the administration of the United States as part of Okinawa, thereby reaffirming the island's status as a part of the Japanese territory. The Chinese claim the Senkaku Island, the official position of the People's Republic of China or PRC is known as the People's Republic of China, is that Dao is China's inherent territory in all historical, geographical and legal terms. According to historical evidence of the island being administered as part of the Taiwan since the Ming and the Qing dynasties. So the dispute between China and Japan over the Senkaku or the Diao Island, respectively for them, is continuing and aggravated day after day. So then biopharmaceutical alliance, recently India, South Korea and USA, Japan and European Union launched the biopharmaceutical alliance. It was launched in response to the drug supply shortages experienced during the COVID-19 pandemic. The announcement was made at the inaugural meeting of the Biopharmaceutical Alliance held in San Diego, California during the Bio International Convention 2024, the world's largest biopharmaceutical exhibition. So, building a reliable, sustainable, and resilient supply chain in the biopharmaceutical sector, coordinate the prospective countries' biopolicies, regulations, and research and development support measures, building a detailed pharmaceutical supply chain map to reduce dependence on other countries where the production of essential raw materials and ingredients is concentrated. Then the next is the National Crisis Management Committee. The Union Cabinet Secretary chair a meeting of the National Crisis Management Committee. This is to review preparedness to deal with the heat waves and the forest fire, that because during this summer period, these two are the big issue. One is heat wave and the forest fire. So how these things should be controlled is a major discussion being deliberated at the National Crisis Management Committee meeting. About the National Crisis Management meeting, about the National Crisis Management Committee, it is a key committee involved in top level decision making for disaster management in India. Composition: chairperson, cabinet secretary, members, secretary of various ministry, department and agencies responsible for disaster management. Role of the National Crisis Management Committee: crisis management, it handles major crises with serious of national implication. Disaster preparedness, it review measures to ensure readiness for natural disasters. Coordination, it coordinates relief efforts across different agencies and state support. It provides logistic and financial support to state government. Preventive measures, it ensures all necessary steps are taken to minimize damage to loss of life. So then the digital payment intelligence platform, with the rise of digital payment scams in recent time, there is a growing need. Okay, so objective RBI. So this is what with the rise of digital payment scam, there is a growing need for a collective approach to prevent and manage these issues, because with the growing economy and digitization, the digital crimes are growing in the country. So considering the rise in digital payment, the Reserve Bank of India plans to create a digital payment intelligence platform. It aims to gather intelligence across the digital payment network and enable real-time data sharing. Okay, so RBI wants to expand the existing e-mandate system as more people are using automated recurring payment. This system will now include payment that happens regularly but not a fixed time, such as topping of FASTag balances for tolls or the National Common Mobility Card used in public transport. This change could allow customers to set their FASTag and NCMC to automatically relieve whenever the balance drops below a certain level they choose. This will make it easier and quicker to pay for travel and transportation. The RBI aims to boost the use of the UPI Lite, the service of the for fast small payment directly from the device. They plan to integrate the UPI Lite into the e-mandate system to encourage more people to use this convenient payment method. Come to the question, elucidate the significance of code of ethics and code of conduct in reducing government unethical practices. Also brief about the role of training and education in ensuring civil servants adherence to these codes. The code of ethics recommended by the second ARC is a document that provides a set of principles reflecting the values of integrity, accountability and transparency. While the code of conduct offers specific guidelines on expected behavior in public life, for civil servants as seen under the All India Service Rules in 1968 to foster trust and efficiency within government operation. Significance of Code of Ethics and Code of Conduct in reducing government unethical practices. Promotes integrity and honesty. The Code of Ethics serves as a moral compass for civil servants, emphasizing the importance of integrity and honesty in public service. So, T.N. Seshan, a former Chief Election Commissioner of India, exemplified integrity by rigorously enforcing the Model Code of Conduct, leading to fair elections. Since each days, elections are becoming more fair, and the power of Election Commission has started growing since he became the Election Commission of India. Support of professionalism, it instills a sense of professionalism among civil servants, guiding them to act in the best interest of the public. The Ashok Khemka, IAS officer, have been transferred multiple times for upholding ethical standards against corruption, showcasing professionalism and ethical resilience. Foster public trust by adhering to ethical principles. Civil servants build public trust through administrative transparency and accountability. So ISU Sagayam through purely voluntary disclosure under the Right to Information Act, share his asset details on the district website, showcasing transparency and enforcing trust. Guide decision making, it provides a framework for making ethical decisions, especially in complex situations. The decision by the Vinod Rai, former Controller and Auditor General of India, to edit the 2G spectrum stamp, highlight the role of ethical guidelines in making tough decisions that serve the public interest. Significance of the code of conduct, define acceptable behavior. The code of conduct provides clear guidelines on acceptable behavior, reducing ambiguity and preventing misconduct. The dismissal of corrupt officials under the provision of the All India Service Rule is a direct application of the guideline. Enhance service delivery by setting standards for behavior. The code of conduct ensures efficient and effective service delivery. The Swachh Bharat Abhiyan has been significant contribution for civil servants adhering to conduct rules, leading to improved cleanliness and sanitation standards. Strengthening legal framework. The code of conduct work in tandem with legal frameworks. Okay, The code of conduct works in tandem with legal framework to discipline errant officials, thereby deterring unethical behavior. The Prevention of Corruption Act is often invoked alongside conduct rules to penalize corrupt practices among the civil servants. And Odisha has seen this in the recent election. So, promote ethical decision making. It guides civil servants in making decisions that are ethical and align with public expectation. The decision by the IAS officer Armstrong Palme to build a 100-kilometer road in Manipur without government fund is an example of ethical decision making benefiting the community. 100-kilometer road without government support. Role of training and education in ensuring civil servants adherence to these roads. Foster ethical awareness. Training and education program raises awareness among civil servants about the importance of ethics and conduct in public service. The Lavasana in India, where IAS officers are trained, incorporates modules on ethics and integrity, emphasizing their significance in governance. Instill ethical values through discussion on values and principles. Training sessions instills a strong ethical foundation in civil servants. The example of E. Sridharan, known for its role in the Delhi Metro project, is often used to illustrate the impact of personal integrity and commitment to public service. She is called the Metro Man of India. Encourage ethical decision making by simulating real-time scenario. Training program helps civil servants practice making decisions that are ethically sound. The ethical dilemma faced by the whistleblowers like the CGV Chaturvedi who expose corruption in public institutions are often used in training session to guide ethical decision making. Support ethical leadership development. Leadership development program focus on cultivating ethical leaders who can inspire and guide their teams with integrity. Leadership quality of Kiran Bedi, India's first woman IPS officer, and her efforts to reform Tihar Jail shows exemplary ethical leadership in the public sector. Develop critical thinking. Education in ethics encourages critical thinking, allowing civil servants to evaluate complex situations from an ethical standpoint. The training at the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel National Police Academy, for instance, includes ethical decision making exercises to tackle challenges in law enforcement with integrity. Promotes continuous learning. Ongoing training and education ensure that civil servants remain updated on best practices and emerging ethical challenges. The National Center for Good Governance in India, which provides training and research on governance and public policy, reflect this commitment to lifelong learning. Conclusion: the Code of Ethics and the Code of Conduct, along with the rigorous training and education, can ensure a governance framework where integrity, accountability, and transparency are not merely ideals but practiced virtues. A Porter Stewart said, ethics is knowing the difference between what you are have a right to do and what is right to do, what you have a right to do and what right to do. These codes, by guiding civil servants, can ensure a resilient and ethical public service commitment to welfare of the society. Then consider the following statement regarding Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi first implemented the Satyagraha method during the Champaran Satyagraha. It is not he initiated it in South Africa. Mahatma Gandhi imprisoned for non-violent protest in South Africa during the Gold Crust Satyagraha, right? Gandhi exclusively relied on submitting petition to the authority in the initial phase to achieve his political objective in South Africa. So only two are correct. One is incorrect, 2 and 3 are correct. Okay, only two. Consider the following statement: the Anna Samudra Bird Conservation Reserve, the Nakti Bird Sanctuary, the Karabite Bird Sanctuary, the Sandy Bird Sanctuary. So here only one is matched. The reference to the thermal infrared image satellite of high resolution natural resource assessment mission. Consider the following statement: Okay, the mission is a joint initiative of the Indian Space Organization and the National Aeronautical Space Administration. The Krishna is engineered to deliver high spatial, high temporal resolution monitoring of the moon's surface temperature. So for question number 3, here neither 1 nor 2 is correct. Which of the following statement regarding the biopharmaceutical alliance is incorrect? It was a joint initiative of India and France. No. So many countries join in the first conference. So this is the wrong one. A. It aims to build a reliable, sustainable, resilient supply chain. Right. It will coordinate the prospective country bio policies. Right. It was launched in response to the drug supply shortage during the COVID-19. Yes, all the three B, C, D are correct. Only one is incorrect. The Reserve Bank of India decided to leave the repo rate unchanged. Which one of the following is likely to indicate above the current economic situation? So repo rate is the rate at which the commercial bank borrow money from the RBI. The economy is experiencing high inflation and the RBI wants to control it by tightening the credit. The economy is facing a slowdown and the RBI wants to stimulate growth. The RBI delivers a current economic condition are stable and there is no need to immediate monetary policy statement. RBI is waiting to see the impact of previous policy changes before taking further action. So here, question number the option C is the most right option. Rest of the following statement: informal recycling workers are responsible for recycling a majority of the plastics. Right. The Global Plastic Treaty is a significant attempt to establish a legally binding agreement aimed at reducing the and eliminating the plastic pollution. Right. And the International Alliance of Waste Pickers aims to promote recycling technology for waste management. So only 1 and 2 are correct. As to the following statement, particulate matter is a mixture of tiny solid particles and liquid droplets floating in air. The air of the Anthropocene project is an international effort that combines art and science to show air pollution in a visual way using light painting. So for this, both 1 and 2 are correct. It is a mechanism designed to facilitate cross-border transactions between India and other countries using their respective. Okay, so it is a mechanism designed to facilitate cross-border transaction between India and other country using their respective local currency without the need for intermediate currency like the US dollar. Which of the following framework helps in facilitating this? This is facilitated by the local currency settlement framework. So C is the right answer. So the primary objective of the digital payment intelligence platform proposed by the RBI is to increase the transaction, no, mitigate the payment fraud, that is what. So the mitigate the payment fraud risk and enhance the safety of digital transactions. B is the right answer. Senkaku Island is a territorial dispute in China and Japan. It is called Senkaku Island and also Diao Island. Senkaku Island by Japan and Diao Island by China. And this is a dispute. So between China and Japan, B is the right answer. Thank you for watching. Keep watching regular to update yourself.